The problem here is we might be re exposing ourselves to things that are continuing to confirm that thought that's creating that negative feeling for us. We don't necessarily look around and say, wait a second, what am I taking in that's making me not feel good? Welcome to the Love Your Brain podcast, the podcast designed for everyday people who are ready to hop off the negative thought hamster wheel and enjoy a less hostile environment in their own brains. Our brains are where we live our entire lives, and I'm on a mission to help people see that they have everything they need to make it a happier place to be. So join us for this episode of the Love Your Brain podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Love Your Brain podcast. This week, we are going to be talking about something that all of us deal with in some way, shape, or form, and that is getting stuck in a negative thought spiral. Now, the idea here is maybe something happens that kind of kicks off a negative thought for us, but then it feels like it starts to spiral out of control, and we can't control these negative thoughts going over in our head over and over again and really creating a situation where we just don't feel good. And that can be very frustrating. Like, why can't I stop thinking that way? Why can't I stop feeling bad? And so today I hope to give you some tools to understand a little bit better what's happening in that process and give you what you need to take control of that situation and maybe change the direction. Now, when we're talking about negative thought spirals, the reason we don't like these is because our thoughts create a feeling. And so these negative thoughts are creating a negative feeling for us. And I want to start the podcast today by giving you a funny little analogy. So, say for example, someone tries Mexican food for the first time. They go to this Mexican restaurant and they eat it and they feel really sick afterwards. Maybe it was like super spicy and it really messed up their stomach. And then the next day their friend goes, "Hey, I really like this Mexican food place. Let's go get some Mexican food." And they're like, "Well, okay." So they go to the Mexican food place and they sit down, and lo and behold, they eat that Mexican food again. And what do you think happens? They feel sick. They feel ill. Their stomach is really upset. And this process repeats over and over again. Now, as I tell the story, you're probably listening and like, well, that person sounds like an idiot. But sadly, that is all of us, you guys. That is all of us. And it's not intentional, of course. This is happening on a subconscious level, but this is what is happening often when we are in a negative thought spiral. Basically, what's happening is maybe we had an event happen or a significant interaction that caused a thought to happen in our brains. And subconsciously, we are then carrying that thought, maybe ruminating on it and thinking about it over and over again, reprocessing it over and over again, and continuing on with life as it goes, right? Just acting like everything is normal, but in the back of our brain, we've got this really negative thought happening. The problem here is often we might be re exposing ourselves to things that are continuing to confirm that thought that's creating that negative feeling for us. We don't necessarily look around and say, wait a second, what am I taking in that's making me not feel good? And so that's what I want to talk about today. When we are in this negative thought spiral, we are continuing to take in things around us that maybe we didn't think twice about before, but we need to think twice about now in order to change the direction of this negative thought spiral. And although I like to say that we can stop thinking that way, really what I'm saying is let's start thinking a different way. So instead of trying to stop thinking this negative thought, we need to figure out how we can start thinking differently. But in order to even get there, we have to figure out what is the actual negative thought we are having. What is that core thought that's coming up for us? Maybe that event or that interaction triggered a thought for you, maybe about who you are or the way that you are, that's really creating that negative feeling for you. Once we have that negative belief or that negative thought figured out, once we've got that defined, then we can figure out what is the positive thought, what is the positive belief that we want to confirm and put in its place. What do we want to exchange it for? Once we've got that defined, what is that positive thought? We're then going to figure out how we can change the inputs to confirm that new thought. So we're going to look at what are we taking in? What are the interactions we're engaging with other people? Where are the places that we are going where we're taking in information? What are the media sources that we're taking in? What are the things that we're doing just to spend our time? What are the things that we can change about those inputs so that we can confirm a different thought or a different belief? Now, I will give you a little bit of an illustration of what this might look like. As someone who has struggled with this myself, I often will get into a place where I get into a negative thought spiral simply because I am in this area of work that's very focused on self improvement and mental health and healing our wounds and doing all of that hard work. And unfortunately, sometimes I can consume so much of that over a period of time that I can actually get into a negative thought space where I start to think that there's something I always have to fix inside of myself, that I'm constantly on this journey to be better and do better and think differently and believe differently. And when I'm taking that all in over and over again in all these different ways, I can get to a place where that thought starts to make me feel really not good about myself, like that I always have to be doing something to fix myself. So when I'm in that situation, I have to figure out, okay, that negative thought is maybe that I need to be fixed or I need to always be working to better myself. If I don't want to have that thought, what is the positive thought that I want to put in its place? So for that example, I need to come up with something. What is the positive thought? What's like the opposite of that that I could really lean into, that I really like the feeling of? Well, maybe it's that I can enjoy who I am today regardless of where I'm at on my journey. I can enjoy who I am today. Maybe that's the one I want to go with. So then I look at my inputs. What am I taking in? And how can I make those things that will confirm that for me? Maybe for me, that means just shifting who I'm interacting with. And this doesn't have to be anything crazy like, ghosting somebody or anything, but maybe for a period of time, I'm just going to take a step from engaging with so many people in my circle that are just very focused in the same field. And maybe instead, for a little bit, I'm going to just hang out maybe with some of my friends that are outside of this field, that maybe just some goofy friends that just enjoy having fun and aren't on the same intense self-help, self-development journey. Maybe that's one way I can do it. Or maybe I look at the media I'm consuming. Maybe it's muting some things on social media for me for a while so that I'm not constantly consuming that material. Or maybe it's, normally I listen to a lot of self help, self development podcasts. Maybe instead I'm just going to listen to music for a while. Or maybe I'm going to shift over and just listen to a girly, fun, chit chatty podcast instead. Or maybe it's just how I'm spending my time. A lot of my time is spent on this process for myself and for other people, helping them on their journey. Maybe instead, I'm going to just take some time this week and make sure every day I'm going to the pool and just relaxing and doing nothing. Or maybe it's the, books I'm reading. For me, I love self-help, self-development books. I'm a huge nonfiction person in general. So maybe it means, you know what, I'm going to go to the library and I'm just going to get a fiction book. I'm just going to get a fiction book, as awkward as it feels sometimes, and give it a whirl. Sometimes when I'm having a difficulty making this shift, I'm usually going to lean into maybe something like a memoir, maybe something that's not like instructionally giving you information on how to improve yourself, but I can just listen to someone else's journey and enjoy that a little bit. Maybe that's a shift that I can make. I need to be changing the inputs so that it's confirming a different thought so I can feel differently. Now, the key to remember here is not just that you are simply removing things that are enforcing a negative thought or belief, you're actually also adding in things to confirm the new positive thought or belief that you're trying to really integrate into your mind so that you can actually feel differently. Again, we're not just removing the bad, we are also substituting those for the good, that's reinforcing the positive thoughts and beliefs that we really do want to have. Now, for me, in a lot of ways, that meant just finding things that would reinforce the thought that I can enjoy who I am today, the way that I am today, without any fixing, without anything else. I can enjoy who I am today. Finding things that I can engage with that are going to reinforce that belief for me. Because if I believe differently, I will feel differently. And that's what I hope today that you can take away from this podcast. What is the negative thought that you are having that's really causing you to spiral out of control? Sitting down with that and getting to the core of what it is. What is that underlying thought? Does it have to do with maybe you're not a good parent, or you're not going to advance your career, you're not going anywhere, or maybe it's that you're never going to be able to pay off your debt? Whatever that negative thought is that's really causing you to spiral, what is a positive thought that you can put in its place, that you can lean into and really build on? Maybe let's take the example that you're going nowhere in your career. Maybe that's something that you've really been struggling with lately, because a lot of people in your circle are just doing super well in their careers, making a lot of money, making huge shifts, and you just feel like, I am going nowhere in my career. Okay, so what is a positive thought that we could put in its place? Maybe it's that you're capable of advancing your career. That might be a good one to try. You are capable of advancing your career. So, if that were the case, how could we shift the inputs to confirm that thought? That might help you to feel a little bit differently. What are the inputs that you're taking in now? Maybe you're someone that's constantly engaging with people in your circle who are always, you're meeting up with them and they're talking all about all the amazing things that they're doing to move up. Maybe instead you shift to talking to some people that might confirm for you this new thought that you are capable. Maybe you need to talk to your grandma a little bit more, let her build you up a little bit. Maybe you need to just engage with some friends that, really think that what you're doing is super cool. It may not be like what you are seeing in these other people, but they're really impressed with you. Maybe those are some people that you need to spend some extra time with. That doesn't mean you ghost your friends that are super successful in their careers. That just means that you lean in a little bit more and choose to spend time and engage with some people who are going to fill your cup in that way and help you to feel more capable in your career. Or maybe you're someone who's constantly scrolling on LinkedIn and seeing how everyone is, hitting these huge goals in their careers. Maybe for a while you delete your LinkedIn and instead maybe you start scrolling for different programs that you might be able to enroll in that could really give you the boost in your career, where it might help you to feel more capable in moving up in your career. So making that swap. Maybe it's something like, instead of constantly going to network events and trying to create new networks of people, maybe it's taking a break for a bit and just sitting back and reflecting on how far you've come in your career. Maybe it's sitting down with your resume and updating all of the accomplishments that you've had in these last few years and really showing yourself the evidence that, man, I have come really far. This doesn't mean that you have to stop doing all these other things forever. It just means that for a temporary period of time, you are going to be shifting your inputs so that you can think differently and feel differently. Think about the Mexican food example. Surely, if you didn't have a good experience and you felt yucky because you ate Mexican food, it doesn't make sense to keep going to the Mexican restaurant, because they're going to serve you Mexican food that's going to make you feel yucky. So, in your thought life, if you're having a negative thought, don't keep going to those same sources that made you feel yucky before, because you're just going to feel yucky again. Change where you're going, ingest something different so that you can think differently and you can feel differently. I know this sounds very basic as I'm putting it today, and it may not be that basic in practice. You might be struggling to figure out how I can change these inputs. And maybe you can't change as many as we've talked about today. Maybe you're just going to start with one. Maybe there's one shift that you can make to change the course of this negative thought spiral, just to make it a little bit less impactful on your day-to-day life. That's okay too. And maybe you're at a place right now where this all feels like something you can't handle. That's okay too. This is information that you can tuck away in the back of your brain, revisit it at a time where you feel like you have more resources to make those shifts so that you can think differently and feel differently. But the important part here is your brain is not your enemy. It's simply a machine that you can use to create whatever you want. And so if you want to feel differently, let's put some different things in so you can get out a feeling that you actually want instead of a feeling you don't want. Hopefully, today's episode has given you some tools on how you can stop your negative thought spiral to work towards feeling differently by changing your thoughts, by changing the inputs that you're taking in. It can feel very overwhelming when we're in a negative thought spiral. So, hopefully, some of the scariness of that negative thought spiral has lost a little bit of its power today because now you understand a little bit more of how it works and how to change it if you really want to stop it and choose to think differently. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you next time. I hope you found something helpful here today on the Love Your Brain podcast. Maybe a laugh or a feeling of validation, or maybe just a few moments to have company while you do your laundry. Whatever you take from it, I hope you enjoyed your time and leave feeling empowered to be more you every day. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the next episode, and leave a review. I'd love to hear what you think. Have a great one.